Hey guys, and welcome to my discussion of The Battle of the Labyrinth, the fourth book in the Percy Jackson and Olympian series by Rick Riordan. If you have not read any of the books, I highly recommend that you read them. So far out of the series, this is my favorite book. I read this so fast, I never wanted to put it down. It was just so good. This video is going to contain a lot of spoilers, so if you have not read any of the Percy Jackson books, please go read them and come back and join us for this discussion. Okay, so we start off this book and Percy's going to his high school orientation, and it doesn't feel like Percy's that old in my mind, but at this high school orientation, he runs into Rachel Elizabeth Dare. And I'm so happy about this because she's added into the story right away. But of course, Percy can't have a normal day at school. Not even before school actually officially starts. Of course, we have to have some kind of monster attack him, and I cannot say the name of these monsters for the life of me. They're like fire demons with one goat leg and one middle leg, and it is just so freaky to picture. But after this battle, Percy doesn't actually kill Kylie. I'm gonna call her Keely because that's kind of what it looks like. After she fakes her death and he and Rachel escape, they run into Annabeth. I love when Annabeth comes in, and I love seeing the interactions between her and Rachel. If you've seen my previous discussion videos, you know that I had I was very questionable about if it was just cell phones they couldn't use or if it was all electronics overall. Well, it's answered in this book. They can't use cell phones. Any other electronic is fine to use. As we see at the end of the book, Annabeth and Daedalus have been using laptops. It's something about cell phones projecting their voice that attracts monsters, so I'm not sure if that counts as for landline phones too, or if it's just cell phones. Doesn't really tell, but at this point I'm just going to assume that it's cell phones. So we get to camp, Dionysus is gone, and there's this new guy, Quintus, who's there with his pet dog, Miss O'Leary, and he's there to teach the kids sword fighting. Right away, there was something about this guy that I didn't necessarily trust, and that was before we learned from Grover's girlfriend, Juniper, that he was sneaking around Zeus's fists before anyone else even knew it was the entrance into the labyrinth. So I guess that could have been hinting to us that this guy is Daedalus, but I never saw it coming. Tyson is such a great character, and I'm so glad he's back. Then we have Clarice. We find out what Clarice was doing in the Titan's Curse. She found Chris Rodriguez in the desert at one of the labyrinth entrances, mumbling to himself about Luke's men having been exploring the labyrinth and something about string. You don't really see a lot of Clarice in this book, but I am enjoying her character a lot more than I did in the previous books. Mostly because you get to see her softer side with Chris Rodriguez, even though he's insane at this point in the book. And then Annabeth finally gets the quest she's been wanting. But she gets her quest and she breaks the 3-man rule when it comes to quests. You're only supposed to take it's only supposed to be 3 people going on the quest, which I didn't know about. But Annabeth wants to take Grover, Tyson, and Percy with her on this quest, and she's going to do it no matter what the consequences may be. But then Annabeth proceeds to break another rule about you're not allowed to sit at other cabins' tables, and she just hops up from her table and goes to sit with Grover and Percy. But after they get the quest and they know that Luke has been exploring the labyrinth and is after, according to Annabeth, Ariadne's string, which, as far as they know, is the only way to navigate the maze. So they enter the labyrinth and almost immediately they run into one of the minor gods, Janus. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. But he's two-faced, literally. And he stopped them and told them that Annabeth has to make a choice between 2 doors. And Annabeth is freaking out, and I'm not really sure why she's freaking out. But before we learn anything about that, Hera comes down and saves them. And I actually thought I would like Hera in this, but I didn't. I'm just so glad that both Percy and Annabeth pissed her off in the end, because she done so much to help them get through the labyrinth, like navigating it better, find their way safely through the Triple G Ranch. And a couple other things I can't remember at this point, but the point is, she did a lot of stuff to get them through the maze. The thing that broke the camel's back is that she didn't care about Nico, and she didn't care about what happened to Luke. It really shows her true side, that family isn't everything to her. It's just who makes up the perfect family that matters. And I'm just so glad they pissed her off, and I hope we don't see her again. I really didn't like her. Then we have the jailbreak with the 100-handed one, Boreas. And the battle with the prison guard, Campy. I don't know how to say these names. There are so many weird names in this book I just cannot pronounce. But this monster is so freaking weird. I mean, it was hard enough to picture the 100-handed one actually literally having 100 hands, even some coming out of his chest and everything. And it's so weird. But then you have Campy, who's like a body of a dragon, bat wings, snakes coming out of her legs, and then the upper part of her body is like human, and then around her waist is like a belt that changes animal faces. And apparently she's one of the strongest monsters they faced up to this point, and the only thing they can really do is run like hell. Then we get to the Triple G Ranch, where we're reunited with Nico, and we run into Uriton. I cannot say his name, but he used to be a half-blood who accepted immortality from his father, and he said that was one of the worst decisions he's ever made. And then we run into the owner of the ranch, Greon. I think that's it. He was even harder picture because you have 3 bodies, 2 arms coming out the end, and then all 3 bodies connect at the neck to one head. But Percy makes a deal with him that if he can clean the stables of these flesh-eating horses, then him and his friends, including Nico, can go free. And if he loses, then Percy will have been eaten, really. But they either get sold to Luke, or Rayon can do what he wants. Eat him, doesn't matter. I'm just thinking to myself, Percy, what the hell are you doing? It's like, I would never want to go on a quest with Percy, because this is like, it's the first time in the book that he's done it, but he actually did it twice, risking everybody's life on a bet that he can win or do an impossible thing. But after Percy wins the bet and Greon is going to go back on his word, he fights him, he wins. We have Nico summoning Bianca, who actually comes because Percy is there. And it turns out Bianca was the one sending him Percy iris messages in the beginning of the book, and I don't really understand how that works considering she's dead. But Bianca tells Nico that she does not want to be brought back from the dead, and we also find out that the fatal flaw of the children of Hades is holding grudges. So she doesn't want Nico to hold a grudge against Percy anymore either. Then they go back in the labyrinth minus Nico, and we have the Sphinx, who Annabeth, you know, obvious choice to deal with the Sphinx. But instead of asking a riddle, she has a test that she has to do. And she's getting all the answers fairly easily. I mean, no trouble at all. But she has to question the Sphinx and refuses to take the test because it's an insult to her intelligence. And then the Sphinx wants to eat Annabeth. All I can think is, Annabeth, why didn't you just finish the damn test? Then we meet Hephaestus. I actually like Hephaestus, which was a surprise. I thought I would very much dislike him after everything that happened in book 1 with the water park, but I actually liked him. And he sends them to go check out his forges. Somebody's been using them, but he's not sure who, because they leave as soon as they feel him coming. Well, on the way, Grover and Tyson go looking for Pan, so they're split up. But Percy and Annabeth make it to Hephaestus' forges, and they find out that they're making some kind of blade, and that's all we can really tell. And they also have this like monster orientation. I'm not even going to try to say these monsters' names. I'm not even going to try to describe them. It was just so screwed up. They have gotten caught, mainly thanks to Percy not staying where he was supposed to stay. Percy persuades Annabeth to leave him and run to safety. I personally wouldn't have, but I do love that she gives him a kiss goodbye. Finally, it's happened. And I like how Percy makes the comparison between, well, the last time I left I got a kiss. This time I'm leaving and all I get is a hat. It was just, it's like, what, were you expecting another kiss in front of everybody this time? And In this instant, we learn a little more about Percy's powers. Like we do in every book, there's more powers that just keep coming up. When he was cleaning the manure stables, he could use calcified or petrified seashells to make water sprout up and clean the stables himself with salt water. Then, because of his father's nature, the fact that they're throwing lava at him doesn't actually burn him, at least not right away. It actually takes time. But then he blows up the volcano. And I'm not really sure how he blew up the volcano. Did he like cause an earthquake and it blow up the volcano? Or did he actually summon water from up out of the volcano and it like shot him out of it? I am not really sure at all about this. So it's like, does he have earthquake powers now, or was that just water he was controlling? But either way, he washes up onto Calypso's island, and I felt that this was kind of an unnecessary part to the book. Not that I didn't like him being on Calypso's island and learning more about Calypso, but it just seemed unnecessary. And I don't see how Calypso could fall in love with him after, well, we find out real time wise it was like 2 weeks. But still, I don't believe I could fall in love with somebody in 2 weeks. But Percy gets back to camp and everyone believes he's dead, and Annabeth apparently made it back to Camp Half-Blood, not sure how that happened. And Percy tells them all what he's learned from Hephaestus while on Calypso's island, that they need a mortal guide. So Rachel's coming back into the picture. Rachel's only leading us through the labyrinth for a little while before they run into another son of Poseidon, Antaeus. I don't know what his name is, but he's killing all these people in the name of Poseidon, and no, you don't do that. But Percy once again risks his and all of his friends' lives by making a bet that he can beat Antaeus, then they will all go free, and if he loses, he can kill them all. And I understand it's a faster way of getting things done, but it's like, really, Percy, can you not just bet your own life? You have to bet everybody's life. Which, I guess he wants to get everybody out of there, and that's the only way to assure that everybody will get out. Along with making him swear on the river Styx, he did learn his lesson from Grion. Thank God. Percy wins, and they escape Luke by Percy summoning Miss O'Leary with the dog whistle Quintus gave him, which he was very reluctant to use because, like me, he did not trust Quintus. And they escape, they find Daedalus's workshop, and lo and behold, we learn that Quintus is Daedalus. And it's not long before they're once again attacked by Luke's soldiers. But this time, they have Nico with them, and this ghost king, Mios. After killing Keely, they escape using the metal wings the same way that Daedalus and his son Icarus escaped from the labyrinth. And right away I thought this was a bad idea because it's like, Percy, Zeus is going to strike you down out of the sky. You've been pushing your luck too much. I mean, granted, he was smart enough not to fly too high up, but still, he's pushing his luck. Then there's a path that opens up to Mount Tam, and Percy decides to check it out on his own, where he runs into those weird demons that were making that blade, which turns out to be a scythe that's going to be Kronos' ultimate weapon, and it was actually originally Backbiter. We also see Ethan Nakamura again, and I don't really like this kid much. Mainly because he's using the fact that he's Nemesis' son to basically justify that he's going to be on Kronos' side. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. But because of stupid Ethan, Kronos has risen again, but in this time in Luke's body, which is very, very creepy. I couldn't imagine being Percy and opening that coffin, expecting to see Kronos, and actually seeing Luke. After Kronos rises, when Ethan pledges his allegiance to him, we have this moment where Percy's all for fighting him. But after he gets thrown across the room, he decides, I gotta get out of here, and he bolts. Which, seeing as Kronos is Lord of Time, doesn't really work out that well. But Percy is saved by Rachel, which is something I didn't expect. And he's saved in the most hilarious way. She actually takes her hairbrush, chucks it at Kronos, and it hits him in the eye. How funny is it that a mortal girl throws a hairbrush and hits the most powerful Titan in existence? Nico's powers, we get a little bit of that. He can summon spirits, raise the dead, knows when people are gonna die. He can also apparently make rock walls, or barriers, if you want to call them that. We also learn in the end, when Daedalus wants to move on, that he can actually release or help souls move on. Because technically Daedalus was in a mechanical body, his fifth body, and he couldn't move on without help, and Nico was the only one that could help. Which I'm glad Nico helped Daedalus move on. That means the Labyrinth is destroyed forever. I did like Daedalus in the end because he came and helped save camp. While still in the Labyrinth, they found Pan, and Pan gives them the message that Grover needs to spread the word that Pan is officially dead, and that they need to start making changes to the wild themselves and not relying on him to come back and do it. And I feel bad that I didn't realize till the end that Pan totally brushed over Nico and didn't say anything to him when he even said something to Rachel. I forgot that Nico was even there. The Battle of Camp Half-Blood was very grueling and probably the biggest fight that they've ever had up to this point. I find it interesting how Grover's scream scared him off. I mean, I know it was Pan's panic working there, but the fact that it's Grover who saves camp I liked it. It wasn't expected. Then we get to after the battle where those stupid old satyrs on the Council of Cloven Hooves, or whatever it's called, are wanting to exile Grover for basically spreading lies that Pan is dead. I just love the fact that Dionysus is on his side. And I started to like Dionysus a lot more in the Titan's Curse when we actually learn more about him. And in this book, at the very end, I actually started to respect the dude. The book ends in my opinion, the best possible way. And that is with Percy's 15th birthday. And a lot happens. Paul asked Percy if he could marry his mother, which I thought was so cute. Way to go, Mr. Blowfish. Then Poseidon shows up and gives Percy not one, but actually two gifts. One is a sand dollar. I don't understand the significance of the sand dollar. Then he also tells Percy that he's his favorite son. And Percy thinks that it's the best present he could have gotten was his father being there. Then we get to the end of the book and Nico shows up with information on Daedalus and his punishment in the underworld, but he also has information on how Percy can beat Luke. And that is where this ends. My favorite book of the series so far. 5 out of 5 stars all the way. If you have read Battle of the Labyrinth, which I hope you have if you are at this point in the video, let me know in the comments below what you think the weirdest monster in this book was. There was a lot of them. If I had to choose one of the weirdest creatures in this book, it would probably be the Telecahenes. I don't know if that's how you say the name or not, but to me those were the weirdest looking creatures in the whole book. Well, that is it for this discussion video. Until next time, guys. Bye!